Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. We are back again with our lecture number 3 that we are going to talk about the writing skills in detail. Let's have a quick recap of our lecture number 2 in which we thoroughly discussed communication skills and language skills. In our lecture number 2, as you can also see on the slide, we have thoroughly talked about the communication skills, that what is communication and how do we communicate. Then we thoroughly discussed that what is a skill, and we also talked about the receptive and productive skills of the language. Then we talked about the types of communication. The 3 types of communication definitely. The first one is verbal, the second one is non-verbal, and the third one is paraverbal. Then we discussed the communication cycle, that how is the message being sent from the sender and how is decoded by the receiver. There is a proper channel, and once the receiver is going to send message back to the sender through a proper feedback, maybe through verbal or non-verbal expressions, that cycle completes. Now your communication can be one-sided as well as its two-sided cycle as well. Then we also talked about the barriers in language communication. Communication is not happen, or it does not happen in isolation. There are so many barriers that are there, the psychological barriers, the physiological barriers, and there are many more, the language, the cultural, all of the barriers are there to make, hindrance that create the stoppage or blockage for the sender to exactly communicate what is in mind to the receiver. Then we also discussed that how we can overcome these barriers in our communication in our daily lives, and this communication cycle and these language skills thoroughly will help you in your spoken as well as written communication. Now today we are thoroughly going to discuss that what writing skills are, and we are also going to see that how to make your writing effective and different in different ways. Now let's first of all discuss that what is a writing skill. As you can see on the slide, writing skills are an important part of communication. Now, as we have discussed, that writing is one productive skill, that your communication is coming out. You have received the information in your brain that was in your memory. Now your senses, your stimuli, your mind is working down on your, that is working down to jot down every information that you have in your brain, to jot that down on a piece of paper. Now, how does that happen, and what is the process, that how do you actually promote, or how do you actually transfer that very information in your brain on the piece of paper? This is what we are going to study, and we are also going to see that how you can make your writing skills effective and good for your presenters, so that they are going to like it and they are going to have fun while writing. Then good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with clarity and ease. Now if you see the definition, or if you see the explanation of writing skill, it's written that a good message is that, or the good communication is that, in which you can communicate your message through clarity and ease. A message that is clear. Clarity means a message that is clear, that is understandable by the next person whom you want to communicate your thoughts to. Now, your message is clear to that person because you were able to communicate each and every information that was there in your brain to your target audience. Now, your audience is the person whom you wanted to address to. When it comes to writing, now there is no face-to-face conversation where there is not going to be any question-answer session. Once you are writing down information on the piece of paper, you should be sure that your information is going to be very, very clear for the next person, by which once he or she is going to read the paper, he is going to get all the information that you wanted to transfer or you wanted to transmit it to. Now, you are going to use all those strategies and all those ways which are easy and which are easy to understand, or which next person can be comfortable with. So 2 things, clarity and ease of your message, are very, very important once we talk about the good writing skills to a far large audience. Now we are not talking about the particular group of people. Your vocabulary, your choice of words, your expression, your details, everything they add to your writing skills. Now your writing paper is going in the different hands. Maybe it's going to someone sitting in the elite class. Maybe it's going to someone who is a businessman. Maybe it's going to someone who is a school teacher, a college teacher, maybe a university teacher, and so on and so forth. So you are going to make sure that whatsoever you are going to write on the paper is going to be as much clear as it can be, so that it is understandable by every variety of the audience that is there. So a larger number of people can understand whatsoever was written on the piece of paper. So this is what is going to be your target once you are going to write an effective piece of writing. Then through face-to-face or telephonic conversation. Now once we talk about the face-to-face conversation, or once we talk about the telephonic conversations, there is a margin of question-answer. Now if the questions or if the queries of your audience, your receivers is not clear, they can ask you questions. They can pinpoint your errors, or they can pinpoint the loopholes in your conversation at that very time. Your friends, while you are communicating with them, they can ask you questions. Maybe if you are presenting in the class and your points are not clear, maybe different audience, maybe they are clients or customers, maybe they are class fellows, maybe they are teachers or anyone, they will ask you questions to clarify their understandings. But once you are writing a piece of paper, that is not coming back to you, or that is not getting back to you. You are just passing that information to someone. Maybe let's take an example of a paper. Now in examination, you are asked to answer some questions. You answer those questions keeping in mind that these questions are the best answer of the questions being asked. Now the best method of attempting those questions is to make sure that the next person, maybe that's a teacher, whosoever is going to check your paper or mark your paper, does not know anything. In this way, once you believe that I am going to answer all those questions which can come in the mind of the teacher, or maybe the one who is going to mark your paper, you are going to keep in mind that he or she doesn't know anything, and I am there to represent and write down everything, every information that I have, and to make it clear to that person whatsoever you wanted him to understand. So this is the best way of attempting or writing any paper, that think that next person doesn't know anything, and you are going to provide each and every possible information in very easy way, in very easy language, so that they are going to understand what you wanted to talk about or what your objective was. So that was about the writing skill. Now there are few things that you are supposed to keep in mind before you actually start your writing, or before writing you should know. Now if you see on the slide, it says that who is your audience. The first thing that you are supposed to keep in mind is your audience, the target people whom you are writing for. Now if you are writing, let's say if you are writing an academic paper, or if you are writing any essay, or if you are writing any article, you should keep in mind that who is my target audience. Who is going to read my paper, or who is going to go through this information that I am writing. Now that you are writing an essay, or maybe you are writing an article for the newspaper, you have to make sure that this information is going to go to all those people, everyone who is going to pick up that newspaper. Now you never know who is going to pick up that paper. So you have to make your writing skills, or you have to create your writing accordingly. So this is the rule of writing. The first rule is you should know that who your target audience is. If there are the varieties of people, you should know what things I should use in my language and which things I should omit from my language. And then if you know that my target audience is going to be my class fellows, my target audience is going to be my teacher, my group fellows, the elite members of the society, the lower middle class, anyone from this sector or from this world, you should know that who your target audience is, for whom you are writing your piece of paper. Now in your the second thing that you are supposed to keep in mind is that what format is required. Now writing does not happen randomly. You have to follow some structure or some format. There are some formats of technical writing and non-technical piece of paper. Now there are two categories, as you know. One is fiction and the other one is non-fiction. Now you should know what is the difference between the fiction and non-fiction. By the way, what is the difference between fiction and non-fiction? Alright, let me tell you. Fiction is something that is written with imagination, that is written with something, that is written with like poetry, drama, these are all your fiction elements. And non-fiction is something that is that has got some proper format, and they are kind of technical, like essays, reports, academic papers, and so on and so forth. The newspaper articles, they've got some process and they've got some format that is required. Now if you see this point number 2 on this slide, what format is required? Essay or report, or that's a reflection, or some reflection on some experience that you had. Now that can be a narration, that can be your expository information, that can be a persuasive information, anything that you want to convey, they have got some format and they have got some sequence. Now there are some styles of writing that you should know. First one is writing in a logical and objective way. Now once we use the word logical or objective, in other words, we mean that you are supposed to add every factual information that is required there. So your first style of writing is kind of factual. Writing from the personal experience, that would definitely involve your emotions and your personal feelings, and that's going to be a kind of a narration in which sometimes you can use I and we and stuff like that. So the styles of communication should be kept in mind, that which style of communication or which style of writing you are going to use while you are communicating with your audience. Once you are going to send your writing material to the audience, you should know that my writing is going to be either factual or personal. That's going to be imaginary or reality based. So this is what you are going to decide before writing any piece of paper. Then there are some academic conventions, like references that you put by the end of your writing, or maybe you put them in the appendices. Sometimes you have to happen to mention those references within your piece of paper, and sometimes if you are copying your material from net, or maybe you have taken the word of someone else, there comes an issue of plagiarism. So you are supposed to also see the academic conventions, that you are not going to copy anything that was written by someone else, and you are going to copy it for yourself and make it your own piece of paper, and you are going to present it maybe, and people are going to get impressed that he has written a smart piece of paper. But once it has been checked, or it has been checked for the plagiarism, it was plagiarized, and that really don't leave a good impression of you. So you are also going to take care of the academic conventions in your before you start up any writing. So I'm going to discuss all the MLA and APA styles with you, so that you don't have any confusion if you are copying any material being written by someone, and you are going to write that material in your own wording maybe, or if you want to copy that within the inverted commas, you can write it easily. Alright, now let's see different types of writing. The first one is formal writing, and the second one is informal writing. Now if you see on the slide, the formal writing is kind of, it says that it's kind of complex. It has got an objective, and it also, it's not written in the first or the second person. It always talks about the third person. It's written from third person, for the third person rather. And there are full words instead of contractions or abbreviations or the use of jargons that we usually use in our informal writing. However, if you see on the other side, informal writing is kind of simple. That is understandable by everyone. You can also use the contractions and abbreviations instead of writing the full-fledged words. I hope you know the difference between contractions and abbreviation. Abbreviation is something that is the short version of any longer name. Like let's say I call ComSat's Institute of Information Technology. So I would write it CIIT, all in caps and bold. So that would be in inverted commas, in brackets. So this is how you write ComSat's Institute of Information Technology's abbreviation within the brackets, CIIT. Now there are some contractions, like I say I am, so I would write I am. Or there is another shortening, I want to, so I say I wanna, or I am not, I ain't. So these kind of shortenings or these kind of contractions are not allowed in your formal writing. However, you can make use of these kinds of writing in your informal writing. Now you can also use, or you can also make use of the colloquial speech, that is, not the authorized speech that is understandable by the business people. Now business language or the formal language, formal writing, that doesn't allow you to use the colloquial speech that are maybe can be slangs or ungrammatical words that can be used. And then there is empathy and emotion, like self revelation maybe, or self mention can be there in your informal writing. Now let's discuss all of them one by one along with the examples. Now formal writing is something, formal writing style, first of all, it talks about its complexity. It is kind of a complex. Why is it complex? Because if you see point number 1, it says that longer sentences are likely to be more prevalent in formal writing. Now longer sentences make your writing some kind of complex. Now the ideal sentence length is between 20 to 25 words. Now your sentence should end before that. If it's longer than that, it's a complex sentence. You are not going to, make the use of these longer sentences in your writing. That is going to, create confusions for your reader. The shorter the sentence would be, it would be more easy to understand. We are going to decide either we are going to use the short sentences for our essay or the long sentences for our essay later, once we will have the complete comparison of formal and informal styles, because we cannot differentiate between that what kind of writing essay is, because essays sometimes can be personal, or sometimes they can be written for the formal purposes, sometimes they can be factual, as we have also discussed in our lecture number 1. Now you need to be as thorough as possible with your approach to each topic when you are using a formal style. Now that would make your writing style complex. Each main point needs to be introduced, elaborated and concluded. So that is the rule, that each main point is being introduced, elaborated and concluded. That makes your writing complex and very, very formal. Now formal writing style, the second thing that you are supposed to, or you would see in formal writing style, is of objective. It states main points confidently and offer full supportive arguments. Now as we will discuss the paragraph, how does the paragraph look like and how many parts the paragraph has. There is one topic sentence, there are supporting details, and then there is one conclusory sentence. Now these 3 parts, every sentence in every paragraph is being elaborated so much that your objective is so much clear. So that will make your writing very, very formal. A formal writing style shows a limited range of emotions and avoid emotive punctuations. Now your formal writing style, the objective of your formal writing style is to make very less use of emotive punctuations like exclamation points. As you can see on the slide as well, it looks like this, and ellipses, these are the gaps between, or the missing or loopholes between your conversation, like ... or maybe the information was missing or something like that, unless they are being cited from another source. So these kind of things, unless they are being cited from any other source that was written by somebody else, and you are quoting that very reference in your piece of writing within inverted commas, and you are properly referencing that, and you are putting the name of the author as well as the year in which he has said, that becomes an MLA or APA style. So you are going to make sure that you are not going to insert any information like that. That is not going to make your writing style informal rather than formal. So if you mention all the MLAs and APA styles once you are quoting from the other sources, and if you are being showing that you are showing the limited range of emotions, and you are not using any kind of emotive punctuations like exclamation marks, the contractions, the abbreviations, the jargons, ellipses, and so on and so forth in your writing or in your piece of writing, your writing will automatically become a formal writing. Now the use of full words. The full word says that there should not be any contractions in your piece of writing. There should not be any contractions. It means that, in other words, if I have already given you some examples, as you can see on the slide, if it's written it is, you are not supposed to write it the way it's. So it will become the shortening form. Its is a shortening form, and it is complete version or the full words of any formal writing. So if you write I am or I will instead of I'll, or I'm, these kind of words, instead of using the contractions, if you use the complete words, it will automatically become your formal writing. Abbreviation must be spelled out in full when first used. Now this doesn't happen in the formal writing, that you are going to elaborate all the abbreviations completely in throughout the writing. Once you are making the first use of that word, if I have to use the word, let's say virtual university, that is in brackets I would write VU. I don't have to repeat every time the complete version or the full word version, that is virtual university. Once I have written it in the first sentence, maybe where I was supposed to mention that, I would rewrite it like VU in the upcoming sentences where that is required. So in exceptions being when the acronym, the only exceptions other than that being when the acronym is better known than the full name, that is BBC or NATO or news. By the way, do you know what news stands for? NEWS. That is North, East, West and South. The news coming from every corner of the world that is coming to you. So is BBC, that is very familiar, and so is NATO. So these kind of words, unless the exceptions which are understandable by everyone, you can use them in your writing. However, those abbreviations which are not understandable by everyone, you are supposed to elaborate them in your first line to make your writing formal. Now, formal writing style is not personal writing style. You cannot use I and we. The formal writing is disconnected from the topic and does not use the first person point of view. So that's kind of a third person point of view. You are not going to mention I or we or second person like you. So formal writing is kind of information that is coming from the third source rather than first or the second person. So if you are going to add I or we in your writing, that will become the informal writing style. So you should know that what writing style you are going to pick up once you talk about the formal or informal writing styles. Now, formal writing style has got a proper procedure or a proper process. It follows or it has got the proper beginning, proper middle and proper ending. It also follows a proper, let's say, process. In other words, it follows the writing techniques that are there in our language and we use them for writing a piece of paper. It follows a writing process. Now your writing process has got a planning stage, then it has got the drafting stage, and then it has got the last stage, that is your finishing touches. Material is organized on a set pattern. Now let's take an example of a report. Now report is divided into different parts, different chapters, different divisions. Your first chapter is about, there are some kind of 6 or 7 pages that are there before actually chapter 1 starts. These papers are known as the prefatory pages, where you have your title fly, your title leaf, your table of contents, executive summary, letter of transmittal, and your appendices, maybe the glossary, which is there to describe all the abbreviations and acronyms which are there in your report. So these kind of formats, then you have your chapters, and in the end you have your references and your appendices. So this proper format of the report is something that makes your report, which is following some special writing process or which is using some special writing techniques that make your paper formal piece of writing. Now let's talk about the informal writing style. As we have thoroughly talked about the formal writing styles in our language, now quickly talk about the informal writing style in our language. Now informal writing style is kind of colloquial. It is kind of similar to how we speak in our daily life. That is not sequential. Thoughts are coming and they are going and there is no sequence in that. So that's kind of how do we communicate. Maybe there are some contractions or maybe there are some abbreviations in our language that we are using. Maybe there are some slangs that we are using in our language, the words which does not possess any meaning. These kind of things make your speech colloquial. Now, informal writing may include slangs, figure of speech, broken syntax, and so on. Now, these kind of things can be there in your language that can make your language colloquial. Informal writing takes a personal tone. Now, there is a personal tone in your informal writing instead of using the third person as we have talked about in our formal writing style. Now, there is no mention of third person. You can use you and your in our language. If you read from the slide, you can use the first or the third person point of view, I and we, and you are likely to address the reader using second person. So you can also address the second person, you can also address the reader. You have got that margin, as well as you can also insert your feelings and emotions in any kind of the informal writing style that you are writing. Now, informal writing style is kind of simple. It doesn't have the long, complex sentences or the standard sentences that are there. Short sentences are acceptable, and sometimes they are essential to make a point in the informal writing. So sometimes you use very short sentences in your informal piece of writing to make that thing clear to the audience, or it can be helpful or it can be beneficial for everyone. There may be incomplete sentences or ellipses to make some points. I mean, there can be bullets. So that's kind of not a sequential style, or that doesn't follow any process at all. So this is how your informal writing style is kind of easy to write. There are contractions and there are abbreviations again. Words are likely to be simplified using contractions, like as you can see on the screen as well. For example, I am, doesn't, couldn't, it's, I am, I'll, and these kind of words which can be contracted, or which can be squeezed down. And you can also use the abbreviations. For example, instead of using the complete version television, you use TV, and you use these kind of words like LOL, laugh out louder, Assalamu alaikum, AOA, and these kind of words can be abbreviated in your contractions and your informal piece of writing. Now, empathy and emotion is also there. The author can show empathy towards the reader regarding the complexity of a thought. Now, you can empathize with people who are reading, keeping in mind that those people they are sitting right in front of you, because informal writing style is kind of conversational. So once you are using the informal writing style, you make sure that people they can understand your language, and they also help them through that complexity. In other words, it means that you are providing them a very complex idea, and you are providing them your emotions and empathy, and you also make sure that you bring them out of that complex situation, and you suggest a solution for that too. So this is how informal and formal writing styles are different from each other, and they are there is some kind of differentiation between them which makes the reader understand that which kind of writing style he or she is supposed to pick before writing any kind of piece of paper or any kind of material. That's what we are here to do, and that's what we are going to see once we will start actually practicing our essay writing or essay crafting skills, so that we can make sure that you are able to write the good essays, or rather very good essays, so that there is no confusion selecting the medium, either formal or informal, that you can use for your writing purpose. Now let's try to see that how we can make our writings effective. As we have already talked about the formal and informal writing styles in our writing, now let's see that how we can make either formal or informal writing style effective once we want to appeal to the audience logic, or once we want to appeal to the audience emotion. So this is what we are going to see now. Now, the first thing that we are supposed to keep in mind is the conciseness of our writing material that we are writing. Now, conciseness doesn't come in the terms that we are going to make, or maybe if we have a lot of thoughts, we squeeze them down on one piece of paper and we omit some and we only pick up the best. That doesn't mean that. Whatsoever you want to write, every thought is there. You only need to understand that you are going to, write them in a sequence. first of all, and second thing, that each sentence should not be vague and they are not, beating about the bush or providing the extra information, or they should be, concise enough to be understood. Now let's see how this conciseness occurs. The first thing that we are supposed to keep in mind is to avoid the redundant categories. Now, how do you define the word redundant? It means that the same idea which is being repeated again and again. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say blue in color. Now, everyone knows that blue is a color. So, instead of saying that blue in color, we would say blue. And there is another example. Let's say round in shape. So round itself is a shape, so instead of saying that ball is round in shape, so we would simply say ball is round or sky is blue. So this is how the repeated or the repetitions, the idea being repeated again and again in different words should be avoided. Then unnecessary clauses should be avoided, as they only help to elongate your sentence instead of conveying your thought properly. So this will help also make your sentences short, terse and to the point. Now conciseness doesn't have to do with the length of the sentence. It has something to do with providing your thoughts clearly and to the point thoughts in your sentence. Then we will also talk about the construction, the unnecessary construction through coordination or subordination in your sentences, that we are going to also talk about in your upcoming slides once we are going to discuss the matter of conciseness. And the fourth thing that we are going to talk about is awkward repetition, that is there maybe in the form of the phrases, maybe in the form of the idioms. Instead of saying that at the point of agreement, I would say agreed, or instead of saying like let's say to conclude, I would say concluded. Simple. In one word, we are going to make sure that the longer phrases are replaced by the one word, or the obscure words are being replaced by the simple words. So this is what our target is, to make our sentences concise and to make them easily understandable by different people. Now revising for conciseness. Let's see example number 1. The original sentence was, the reason buying a new house is so difficult because the process is so complex. Now see the two words, because and reason. Now there is the problem of redundancy. Reason is because. So instead of, if you rewrite the original sentence to make that concise, that would become, buying a house is so difficult because the process is so complex. So we have omitted the word reason and we have added the word because both of them, they carry the same meaning. So they are the redundant categories which the meaning or the point of view is being repeated. So instead of making your sentence longer by elaborating the details with these kind of redundant phrases, we are supposed to omit them and make your sentences concise and easy to understand. Now let's check out the second example, which is about the unnecessary clause. The original sentence was, the realtor who is experienced and well recommended is a must. Now that is a very long sentence. Instead of saying that the real estate agent who is experienced and well recommended is a must. So instead of saying that, the revised version says, now we are going to omit the unnecessary clause that was there in the first sentence. An experienced, well recommended realtor is a must. So this is how you are going to make your sentence concise, by omitting the unnecessary clause being present in that. Now let's check out example number 3. The original one was, it is when you can find a fixed interest advance loan with single digit interest that you should lock it in rather than settling for a variable rate loan. Now this very long sentence is kind of uneasy to understandable by the normal or the average man. Reread that again. Let's reread that again if we could understand that. It is when you can fixed interest. It is when you can find a fixed interest advance loan. Now there is some fixed interest amount on something which was an advance loan with single digit interest. Now the word of the this word interest is being repeated again and again, that you should lock it in rather than settling for a variable rate loan. Do you understand that? No. Why? Because there is unnecessary expletive construction in this sentence. Now let's see how we are going to, or unnecessary kind of construction of the words, which is, you know, making the sentence or we are unable to understand the sentence easily. Revised version, let's see the revised version. When you can find an advance loan with a single digit fixed rate. Now the single digit fixed rate is a kind of a criteria on which you can find a advance loan. You should lock it in rather than settling for a variable rate loan. Now we have omitted the unnecessary construction of the word being used in the first sentence, that was you can find a fixed interest advance loan with a single digit interest, has been reduced back to single digit fixed rate. So this is how you make your sentences concise, and you make your sentences clear, and you make your sentences easy for your audience. Now let's check out the fourth example that talks about the awkward repetition in any sentence. Now let's see the original sentence. Don't forget that your down payment is only one part of your closing costs. Closing costs may also include having the home inspected, prepaying a year's worth of taxes in advance, insuring the house, and even having the property surveyed. Now there is kind of an awkward repetition of the ideas. The sentence can be revised by combining sentences and reducing phrases to the single words. Now let's check out the first one and then the last one. Don't forget that your down payment is only one part of your closing costs. Now it conveys a clear message. Now closing costs may include having the home inspected, prepaying a year's worth of taxes in advance. That can be omitted, which may also include having a home inspected, prepayment of the taxes. Now your closing costs add up, prepayment of your taxes and the home inspected, home insurance, and even a survey. So the details that have been, you know, elaborated or exaggerated in your original sentence have been reduced to only one sentence, making it, you know, clear. The sentence has been divided into different phrases to make people understand that what the writer actually talks about, or what the writer actually wants to talk about. So this is how you make your sentences concise, by avoiding the awkward repetition, by avoiding the redundancy in your writing sentences, by avoiding the unnecessary construction, and so on. Now let's see how you can revise for coordination or subordination. Now focus on identifying and correcting the problems of coordination and subordination that you have read in your composition and comprehension skills course, in any writing material that you are, you know, about to write. Now let's see the original sentence. There is excessive coordination or unclear relationship among the ideas that we are going to make clear. See the original sentence. Joan was 35 and she had not lost her taste of learning, and she wanted to finish her degree. Now let's revise it. Although Joan was 35, now there was no clear link between, or there was no clear connection between, or the relationship between the ideas that some writer wanted to tell about Joan, that is being, you know, repeated in the revised version of the example number 5, as you can see on the slide as well. Although Joan was 35, she had not lost her taste for learning and wanted to finish her degree. So although Joan was 35, she was, you know, she had not lost her taste of learning yet, and she wanted to finish her degree as soon as possible. So this is how you have revised your sentence for repeating the coordination, or for fixing up the coordination in the first sentence where that wasn't clear, that why Joan hadn't had right to continue her education or whatsoever. Now that's related to John again. Example number 6. There is illogical coordination that we would see. Original sentence says that she had a few early successes, but she felt she could do it after all. So she had the revised version says that when she had a few early successes, she felt she could do it after all. So the use of the word but, which we thought that is going to coordinate between two sentences, was kind of unclear. So we have omitted that, and that has become our sentence coordinated to one another. Now let's check out the example number 7. Now Joan's family or her family transformed itself into a support system. She wondered how single people could manage the workload by themselves. Now Joan's family had been very supportive as she wanted to go back to college, and she was so eager to learn at the age of 35. So her family was kind of supportive to her, and she was wondering that how single people would manage without the support of the family or stuff like that. Now there is a kind of the unclear subordination or the connection between the ideas that is there. Now revised version says, as her family transformed itself into a support system, she wondered how single people could manage the workload by themselves. So instead of writing the two sentences, the two thoughts have been combined in the form of or by using the word as her. So the word as her has been added in this sentence to have the proper connection between the thoughts that were there in the sentence, what happened to Joan after all. Now your sentences, once you want to make your writing effective, your sentences should be revised for parallelism. Now this parallelism can be defined as this line is going like this and the other line is going like this. Now these are the two parallel thoughts which are moving to each other in some way. Now both are supposed to go in one direction. Sorry, I was wrong earlier. Both of them, they are supposed to go in one direction like this. So they are moving parallel to each other or in relation to each other. So you are supposed to make your ideas or your piece of writing parallel. In other words, all the ideas, all the paragraphs, all the sentences should be parallel to each other, that they are moving in one direction. In other words, all your thoughts, all your sentences should convey one objective or one goal. So one topic, you have to stick to one topic, and you are supposed to take your ideas towards one one source, or you are supposed to reach one goal at once. So focus on identifying and correcting problems of parallelism. If you want to make your writing effective, you are supposed to see that what are the problems there which make your writing lack parallelism or lack your thoughts go in one direction. This is what we are going to check in some examples or through some examples. Now let's see example number 8, that is the original version says, my father's boss, losing his temper, lashed out of my father and my father quit after running out of patience. Now that's kind of unclear because the parallel use of construction to emphasize the contrast, that why father had to resign and what was the reaction of the boss due to which my father resigned. This is what we are supposed to discuss in this sentence, but that was not communicated properly. So the revised version says that my father's boss, losing his temper, lashed out at my father, and my father, losing his patience, quit. Now this is the best representation of the parallel ideas. Now see, my father's boss, losing his temper, lashed out at my father. Now here, if you see the first thought, that is combined. And my father, now that's about the father, losing his patience, quit. Now what happened? The boss, he lost his temper and he lashed out at my father, and my father, losing his patience, he quit. So this is how the parallel thoughts are being conveyed. One parallel idea, what happened to the boss, and the other parallel idea that is about my father. So two parallel thoughts are moving in one direction, that what happened to that person and what happened to the other person and then what happened. So this is what we are deciding on once we talk about the parallel thoughts going in one direction. Now let's see the example number 9. There is a problem of improper conjunction which needs to use or correlate conjunctions in parallel forms. Now let's check it out. The original version says he had lost his job but his sense of identity was also gone. So the revised version says that he had lost not only his job but also his identity. Now if you reread the first sentence, he had lost his job but his sense of identity was also gone. So if you make these two thoughts connected to one another, as he lost his job, he lost his sense of identity also. So both of these thoughts should go in one line, and if you see the revised version, it says the same way. He had lost not only his job but also his identity. So this is how you revise for the improper conjunctions, that is but, although, however, and others like this. Now this is going to be your assignment number 1, that is your writing exercise that you are supposed to do and submit it to me, maybe your course tutor, whosoever is going to teach you. So this is how you are going to start making your writing effective, and you can also take care of the formal and informal pieces of writing in any kind of communication that is there. Now this is the display of the painting of Vincent van Gogh's, and the name of the painting is First Steps. As you can see in the painting, there is the father, and he has his arms open, the open arms towards the child, the one who is going to take some steps towards him. The mother is holding the child in her arms. The father, he is working in the fields, and if you see the background again, there is this thing with a wheel where he is containing this wheelchair kind of a thing, where he is containing all the stuff, all his field crop kind of a thing. Then there is a house in the background, the door to your fields, and then there is a tree, a very green one, there is a sky, and there is a lot of greenery, and there is an instrument with which he was working with in his fields, and there are cloths hanging on the sidelines of your fields, and all so on and so forth. So this is how this painting you are going to analyze, and I am going to give you the outline or the guideline that how you are supposed to do that, and you will submit your assignments as we move on, and I hope you know the marks division of all your assignments and quizzes and everything. Now writing as a process exercise, this is what we are going to see, either to make your writings formal or informal, that's up to you. This is what you are supposed to decide, and then you are supposed to make an assignment based on this outline that I am giving to you. Now Van Gogh, who was a painter in 1853 till 1890, a very short life, whose bright colors. Now let's get back to the painting and see if the colors were bright. Yes, they are bright. See the greens and see the browns and see the shades, see the strokes. Check out the strokes of the painter, how he has created all the strokes on it. Now see the painting again. We are not going to get back to the painting again and again. Now let's see that what exactly you are supposed to do once we will talk about your assignment. Now Van Gogh's, whose bright colors and bold brush strokes often bring to mind a rush of medicinal preparation, that is people who are preparing for the medical aids, tries here to capture that excitement. Which excitement? The excitement of the first steps of the kid towards his or her father. Now father has got his open arms towards the kid, and this is the description of the painting which we are going to have, or which you have read just now. Now what you are supposed to do is to prepare yourself to use the 4 process steps to write about the painting. Now the first thing is planning and shaping your shaping your outline, maybe shaping what do you want to write about, know your audience, whom you are writing for, then you are going to make a shape of that how your piece of writing will look like. Now you are going to make sure that each and every aspect of painting is being described in every word, through every word that is understandable by everyone. Because once you are going to send your assignment to anyone, or once you are going to send your piece of paper to anyone, that won't carry or that won't be having the picture of the painting with it. So what you are supposed to do is to make sure that you are going to go into every minute detail that is there in the painting, and you are going to transfer all those details on a piece of paper, and then you are going to write it. This is all about your planning stage, that what do you want to talk about, the hands of the kids, maybe the position in which the kid is standing, maybe the fields, how do they look like, how father has thrown his instrument down on the earth and he has opened his arms towards the kid, and how mother is holding the kid, and background scenario, and how they are busy in their lives, yet they are enjoying. That is a very exciting moment where the child is coming towards his or her father. So once you have done all the outline, and once you have jotted down all the points that you want to add in your piece of paper, presenting each and every minute detail for those people to whom the painting is not available, but you are going to describe that painting on the piece of paper in a way that once they read that piece of paper, they get to know that what and how that painting looked like. Now then you would do your drafting, revising, and then your editing. That we are going to discuss in our next lecture thoroughly, but for now I will tell you that what is drafting, what is revising, and what is editing. Once you make your drafts, it means that you are going to pick up every information that you jotted down in your planning stage or in your pre-writing stage. Maybe you are brainstorming, maybe you are unearthing your ideas and writing them down on the piece of paper. Now thoughts are coming in your mind and you want to talk about so many things, but once you make your first draft, you are supposed to make sure that you are supposed to write in a logical sequence. That maybe if you are starting with let's say from the painting, let's talk about the painting again, that you want to start from the kid, and then you want to talk about the father and the feelings of the mother and the environment that they are standing in. Or maybe if you want to begin with the time that you can see in the painting, that was a morning time and mother, she came happily out in the fields where her husband was working in the fields and with her child, and she wanted to show to her husband that their kid has started, or their child has started walking. So you wanted to show the first steps of her kid to her father. So this is how you can begin, and you can talk about different things in different ways. Now once you have sequenced down your, or once you have have had the logical sequence of your presentation, you will thoroughly talk about that. You will also talk about the different, you will make the first draft of it, that your thoughts will be connected and how it began and how were the parents so excited and so on and so forth, and you will conclude that this is the best painting of Van Gogh and this is how it is different from others. This is your first draft. Now you would read your draft, or you would reread your first draft for revising. You would revise it. You would check out the punctuation mistakes. You will also check out the grammatical mistakes if there are any. You would also recheck the sequence if there is any thought that was supposed to occur later that you have added earlier. You would replace that, but you are going to make sure that you are not going to omit any information from your pre-writing stage, that is your planning stage and your shaping stage, because any information that is written on those papers which you have discarded already can be added up in your, while you are revising your document and while you are revising your piece of writing. Then you would edit it. Maybe you want to type it on the computer, or maybe you want to rewrite it with your ink pen on the piece of paper neatly and smartly to present it to others, like the way we arrange our dining table if we have called up someone at the dinner. So this is how you are supposed to edit your paper in a very nice way. Now, how are you going to plan your and shape your let's say piece of paper? Now let's look at it thoroughly. Now look at the whole picture. Should I get back, or do you want to see that again? No? Okay, let's move on. Look at the whole picture. First of all, I would suggest that you should take a print out so that you have the picture right in front of you, and try to take the colored print out so that you don't have any confusion with the color strokes and the bright colors and the bright images that the Van Gogh has used in his painting, so that you can write your best assignments, right? Now, what visual parallels do you see? This is what you are supposed to answer. What contrasts, if there are any contrast, or if there are any parallels, any things, or the things moving in the painting going in one direction. Maybe what happened right before this movement, as I have explained to you, maybe that was inside house, or maybe that was outside house, or anything like. And what would be happen, or what will happen after the father will take the child into his arms, and what would be the feelings and what would be the excitement all about. Of all the milestones in child development, nothing except possibly the first smile or the first words. Now, once you will become parents, all of you, and you will have, inshallah, you will have children, and you will see that there is nothing more special than what the child occurs first and the child's smile. These are the two best things in the world. And yes, the first child step, as Van Gogh has described in his painting, that is kind of awesome. Causes as much excitement as the first step. So these are the things which are really very great or very brave things for the parents to see, and they really get very excited with them. How do you convey that level of excitement in words, and without using capitalization or underlining or exclamation marks? Now, while you are not using the informal writing style, definitely you are supposed to write in the writing style, as you are writing a proper sequence and you are writing like an essay. So how you can convey that level of excitement in words without using, if you want to convey your ideas which are bold and you want other people to stress on them, so how would you do that? If you want to stress on one thought, so how would you do that? You don't have any option of highlighting that, or you don't have any option of putting that in the inverted commas, or you don't have any option of capitalizing them. So how are you going to do that? This is what you are supposed to decide. How much can you capture with sentence structure alone? So without taking any help of informal writing style, how you are going to capture the whole painting on the piece of paper? Now, drafting, the stage of drafting is something that you are, making paragraphs that leads up to the climatic movement of this child's first steps. It establishes the setting or the plot for your writing. Then focus on the adults, then the child, then the actual first steps. Now, this is the process that you are supposed to follow while you are making your assignments. Try to capture the parents' excitement. I know this painting is so small enough to describe the spark in the eyes of the mother or the father, but you are supposed to check out the excitement of the father, how he has thrown away his instrument and how he has opened his arms warmly towards the child to take that child into his arms. Now you would revise your sentence, include at least one of each of the following sentence types: simple, compound, or complex. I hope you have studied each and everything in your composition and comprehension course. Include a cluster of at least 3 longer sentences, that is a cluster of 20 plus words. followed by a very short sentence which is less than 8 words. These are kind of, instructions for you to follow while you are making your assignment. Keep in mind all the techniques of effective writing that will help you make your assignment good, and you are going to definitely get good grades. Include at least 2 sentences describing visual parallels and contrasts using the parallel structures. Now you have to talk about the parallel structures that are going on: father and mother, house and the fields. So these are the parallel structures that you can use: trees and sky, and so on and so forth. Include a sentence in which the subject and verb are held for last, the sentence in which the first steps occur. So you are going to make this verb and the subject, the main subject of the sentence at the last. The sentence structure would be, and then he started, comma, walking. So this is how your sentence should be. Your final stage is your writing. Reread your paragraph, checking for correctness of sentence structure, grammar, spelling and punctuation, and if there are any changes that you are supposed to make or which are necessary, you should do that. So can you do that? I hope all of you can do that very easily. Do you want to have a look at the painting again? We will get back to that painting by the end of the lecture. So that was about your painting. Now once you are done with your assignment, you are supposed to compare the 2 paragraphs that you have written. The 2 paragraph, that is one that you are going to make your assignment for, and the other paragraph that you have written informally. So you are going to see both of them and which one does a better job of capturing the excitement of the movement, and you are going to compare that and why. And this is what you are going to write at the end, that how the initial piece of paper was different from the final piece of paper. So this is what you are going to discuss in the last paragraph, to make sure that you are there to explain each and every aspect or each and every point or each and every brush of painting thoroughly in your on your piece of paper. Now in our today's lecture, we have talked about the different writing styles. The first one was formal writing and the second was informal writing, where we have seen the clear differences between the 2 writing styles. Then we have also talked thoroughly about the writing techniques, that how you can make your writing effective. We have talked about the conciseness. We have also talked about the coordination and subcoordination, and we have also talked about the parallel structures that lead your any kind of piece of paper towards a specific goal or a specific objective. I hope you are going to work on your assignments thoroughly, and I wish you good luck for the assignment number 1 of the course. I hope you are going to enjoy making that, and that's only going to be 1-page assignment that's going to elaborate your painting maybe in 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is your proper beginning, the second paragraph is your middle, and the last paragraph is your conclusion, where you will discuss about the pre-writing, writing and rewriting techniques, where you are going to discuss about the comparison of the first one and the second one, the first paragraph and the last paragraph. So that was all about today. You can see the references where these slides were taken from, especially the painting. So that was all about today. I will get back to you with my next lecture in my next class, which is going to be about the writing process, the special writing process that we use for writing any piece of material, either that's going to be technical or non-technical, formal or any kind of fiction or non-fiction that we are writing. Basically, we will talk about our essay writing skills. So we will stick to essay writing, and we will begin with paragraph writing, and then we will move on to essay writing, as paragraph is kind of a child of an essay. So we are going to thoroughly discuss that. By that time, I wish you a very good luck for your first assignment, and I'll see you again. Thank you so much for listening to me. Allah Hafiz.